And welcome back to Hero Power, episode 47.
Getting there, boys.
Creeping a little closer. As always, I am your host, Avantes, and I am joined, as usual, by my co-host, Zeroshio.
Hey, gang.
And Versika.
So apparently I have a new gift.
Oh, well, maybe. We may see it, we may not.
Oh, I'm sure you'll see it.
If you're watching the show tonight, guys, pay attention. We might have something special. All right. So we've got a lot to cover tonight, guys. Blizzard's like, hey, Hero Power has an episode tonight. We should release some major information.
Yeah, no joke.
So
I'm not complaining.
Doesn't it happen all the time? I think we've picked the prime spot, the time spot for our show. Because we always get information like 2 hours before the show.
Yeah. So before we jump into that, Rasika, tell us about Viforce.
So right before and actually right as the intro was coming on, I was watching the Overwatch tournament that's going on TBS. Don't switch over to that channel right now. But anyways, there's an Overwatch channel. Or there's an Overwatch tournament going on TBS, and it just has me itching to play Overwatch, which I actually have played a couple of games in the last few days. And I got the opportunity to play Overwatch on a really nice computer of a friend of mine, and I was just thinking, wow, how the game looks decent on my computer, but how amazing it looked on his. So I got to thinking, I'm just like, I really like playing Overwatch. So what does Viforce have for me? Like, if I wanted to play Overwatch at my maximum experience, what would I get from Viforce? So I got to looking, and I'll have that answer for you as we switch over to the video section. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind.
Cliffhanger. All right.
Cliffhanger.
So I want to start this week. Yeah, I want to start this week by welcoming the newest member of the Hero Power family, our newest patron, Ben. Thank you so much. We appreciate it more than you could ever know.
Extremely.
It's, you guys help us to continue to make the show better. And that's what, a lot of these things we wouldn't be able to do without support from you guys. So thank you very much, Ben, and welcome. Also,
and to kind of piggyback off that, the assistance from our patrons helps us not only do things for the show, but do extra episodes and recordings on the weekends, do some of these community events in the area and abroad. We do have some plans to possibly hit up some future conventions and maybe get you guys some coverage from those.
It's funny you should mention that. Right before the show, we got an email. Well, not really an email. It was more a direct message on Twitter. It says, hey guys, I know it's last minute for this week, so if you guys don't get to this in time, I understand. But I was curious if y'all had any thoughts about maybe attending DreamHack Atlanta 2017. I don't really know a lot about what DreamHack is, other than it has a big Hearthstone tournament. Maybe for those of us who aren't as clued in to esports, you could explain what all one could expect at an event like this, and maybe walk through the different ticket options that are available, and why you would want to have one over the other, etc. The guys on Hearth Coach had mentioned this event on their episode, and it just got me thinking. I won't be live on Twitch for tonight's episode, as I have Soccer League tonight, but we'll definitely catch it on my commute Thursday or Friday. Have a great show. Yellow Dart. P.S. Down with the Vols this weekend. I hope. So Yellow Dart.
Well, I hope you're wrong, Yellow Dart.
Yellow Dart used to be one of our favorite community members.
No,
we love Yellow Dart.
Yellow Dart's awesome.
Yeah.
Georgia is a great trap game for us. If you're a fan of college football, this should be a really good game to watch. Georgia versus Tennessee at Georgia this Saturday.
All right, so what is DreamHack? Zeroshio?
Okay. Have you ever taken your computer over somewhere and had what they call a LAN party?
LAN party!
About 10 or maybe a dozen of your friends all plug your computers up to one network and you just play, games together and all this. Take that.
I love doing that with Unreal.
Oh, Unreal was great. Take that and multiply it by 1,000, and then add exclusives to various console and PC games and new content and a regular technology and gaming convention on top of that. So basically the center section is nothing but your computers. You get to bring your own computer. If you go to dreamhack.com and click on the Atlanta link and then click on tickets, you'll see BYOC tickets. Those are bring your own computer. When you buy your tickets, you'll actually get a table and chair to sit at for the entire weekend and hook your computer up. On top of that, there's going to be multiple esports events, demos by PC gaming companies, demos by console and PC video game creators, and just tons of content. You'll see a lot of podcasts there. You'll see a lot of your casters that you see casting some of your major esports events there. It's just going to be a ball. And they're bringing these to the United States. And honestly, if you look up the pricing, it's $99 as a standard rate for the whole weekend. That is an absolute steal for a convention. Now, if you don't want to spend that much, you can have just a day pass or just a weekend pass, what's not BYOC. And that's a little bit cheaper. But honestly, for $99 to bring your own computer and basically be able to sit there and play all weekend with like-minded people and new games and content around you, you should do it.
Yeah.
Like-minded people. Like there's anyone's minds like ours. Come on.
It's going to be a lot of fun, guys. It is the world's largest LAN party. Mm-hmm. So, like he said, check it out. We are, in fact, talking about trying to make plans to be there. I will be there. Yeah, we would love to meet as many of you as possible while we're there. Got a lot going on that weekend, so it'll be a lot of fun. We'll have to see what all's there. So, all right, that brings.
I've already got the time off of work. I've already talked to my boss. He may be going down with me.
Nice.
It's happening. It's happening.
All right, so that brings us up to this week's iTunes review. So Zeroshio doesn't have to shave this week. It is a 5-star review from Mongolian Misfit. It says, "Puts the heart in Hearthstone. I'm a lapsed Hearthstone player, but a storied Blizzard fanatic. This podcast helps me keep up to date on Hearthstone's goings-on, like I would just sitting and chilling with friends. Thank you, Mongolian Misfit. We greatly appreciate it, and we greatly appreciate the 5 stars.
And you can sit and chill with us anytime you want.
Absolutely.
Please sit and chill with us.
Yeah,
that's right.
All right, so that brings us to the news.
Oh, Lord, here we go.
So, like we said, Blizzard's really good about dropping bombs right before we go on the show. And they dropped a big one today. We are looking at...
I would say a Yogg-sized bomb.
It was definitely some RNG involved. We are looking at upcoming balance changes with patch 6.1.3. So to give you just a rough... We're going to kind of go over it just a little bit, but I want to give you the rough what they said. Over the course of the Year of the Kraken, we've seen the Hearthstone metagame defined and redefined by our players. As a result, we've seen a wider variety of deck archetypes being discovered than ever before. New strategies and playstyles have evolved over time entirely thanks to our creative and passionate community. With the introduction of new cards to the Hearthstone card pool comes additional chances to innovate and discover new decks. Sometimes the introduction of additional cards can also lead to older cards gaining an overall power level boost. In many cases, dusting off old cards can be good for the game and allow our players to create and expand on new themes, even if they may not have a place in the current meta. With keeping Hearthstone fresh in mind, we have to be acutely aware of the overall power levels of our cards contained within the Evergreen Basic and Classic sets. Since these cards do not rotate along with certain expansions or adventures each year for our standard mode players, managing and monitoring their strength is of great importance to the overall health of the game. So in an upcoming update, we will be making changes to a few basic and classic cards, along with certain cards that may have felt too oppressive to our players in the current state of the meta game. So, we're going to start...
Those of you who like bedtime stories, Avanti's just put you to sleep.
You're welcome.
Basically, changes are happening, and
here we go. Let's talk about it.
Here we go.
All right. So
let's start with the one that we have beaten. Let's start with the dead horse that we have beaten for weeks and weeks and weeks. Yogg.
You want to start at the bottom of the list?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, let's just get this one out of the way because there's the least to say about it.
Okay.
Well, here's the thing. The card itself has not changed. The way it reads, the mana cost, the health, everything has not changed.
That's correct. Everything is staying the same. Health, mana cost, card, text. The only thing that's changing is if Yogg dies, if Yogg is transmogged, if he returns to your hand, or is any way becomes anything other than Yogg Saron, the spells stop.
Including, I think, silence, too.
Yes, if he's silenced, the spells stop. So, does anybody really have a problem with the way that changes?
No, and if we remember...
I think Zeroshio called that.
Yeah.
Or actually, I believe what you said was that this is an acceptable change, that this was something that most people could get behind, along those lines.
I said if they're going to change it, make it so that the effect does not persist once Yogg is no longer on the board. And that would be acceptable to everybody. And sure enough, it is.
And it probably should have been the way the card read from the beginning.
I think Ringo that called me out today on one of our YouTube videos, I think from last episode, saying that he was listening to last week's episode today about the same time he read the release
Changes,
from today, and he's convinced that I'm Ben Brode. No, I am not Ben Brode. I am not as cool as that man.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next card then, because I mean pretty much everybody agrees on that one.
All right,
not a lot of controversy there. So let's talk about Charge, because that's another card that there's not going to be a lot of controversy about.
Okay. So if you're not familiar with the change, here it is. Charge is going from a 3 mana, give a friendly minion +2 attack and charge, to a 1 mana, give a friendly minion charge. It can attack heroes this turn. So,
and the reduction in mana cost is nice. This makes it something that might find its way into a tempo warrior deck, but for the most part, it just kills the card.
This kills OTK warrior.
Right.
Yes.
You can't throw out an arcane giant and buff it up and then give it charge and then faceless manipulator it. You can't put out the Worgen, put charge on it, buff it up, and put faceless manipulator. This kills OTK warrior, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
I've never liked OTK warrior.
And I mean, it's better for the game.
Yeah.
You need to be able to react. You need to at least have one turn to react to the board, since you are not allowed to interrupt like you are in some of the other card games. So this provides a more fair battleground.
Yeah. So there was another warrior card change. It was Execute. Execute goes from 1 mana, destroy a damaged enemy minion, to 2 mana, destroy a damaged enemy minion. So the only change is the increase in mana cost. And basically they say it's in order to keep the card as an option closer in power level to other existing and future removal tools. So this kind of makes me wonder if this change was maybe a preemptive change to something that may be coming.
Well, if you look at it compared to other effects to do something similar, meaning outright destroy a minion that meets a specific criteria, you can compare it to the mage spell Shatter to destroy a frozen minion.
Deadly Shot. Deadly Shot costs 3. It's a random
minion. But it is
minion,
random.
But it destroys a minion. You know, you at least have to damage the minion for Execute. So I don't feel that the 2 casting costs is I don't feel like this is going to keep it from being played in warrior decks. It may force someone to make a decision in the mid game. It doesn't affect late game play, so it doesn't really come into effect for Control Warrior until the mid game. And early game, I mean, you just can't get rid of an early game minion fast. So in a way, that kind of helps aggro decks a little bit. But I think in the grand scheme of things, it's not a huge impact.
Yeah, I think this is a good change.
Yeah, and I was actually watching. I was actually watching Value Town live earlier today. It was Chanman and drawing a blank. Who's his co-host? Noxious. It's Chanman and Noxious, but they also had Zalay and Firebat on the show, and they were talking about the changes. And Firebat said, one of the big things with Execute is now instead of paying 1 and then casting a good minion, maybe you pay the 2 and you cast a mediocre minion. So it kind of brings it a little more on.
And the reason why Firebat and Zalay are good sources for this kind of discussion is they are co-hosting the Batstone, which has been a ban-style tournament. And the reason they're doing the bans is because they believe certain cards are overpowered, which is, in turn, why these nerfs have come about.
All right, so next card on the list is a Hunter card, the only Hunter card on the list, and that is Call of the Wild. So this is, if you weren't familiar, 8 mana, summon all 3 animal companions. It's now going to be a 9 mana, summon all 3 animal companions. Again, I think similar to what Versika was saying, I don't really think the +1 mana, it's kind of intended to tone it down, but I don't think it's going to, prevent it from being auto-included and cast on curve. What do you guys think?
I agree.
Well, I think this is not... So since you and I talked in my kitchen when we got home from work, my opinion on this has changed just a little bit. I do think it's too efficient at 8, but like I said, this is, in my opinion, a correlation to having too many cards to play with. And I know that's not going to be a very popular sentiment for a lot of people, but Call of the Wild, its effectiveness is halved by just having Abomination in your deck. But no one wants to play Abomination because Abomination isn't flashy. Abomination isn't a popular card. It's not a sexy card. And a lot of your taunt minions aren't. Just like Silence, taunt has fallen out of favor because it's not sexy. It's not something that is flashy, and those mechanics are not as popular. So Call of the Wild is more effective than it should be because people aren't willing to tech for it. It's not like Yogg. It's not like OTK Warrior. You have an opportunity to prepare and react for Call of the Wild. People are choosing not to do so, and that's why they're getting wrecked by it. Okay. But I do believe that moving it from the 8 to the 9 slot won't affect how it's played in the current meta, but I do think that maybe Hunter is getting a little bit more late game power in that 8 and 9 and maybe even 10 mana slot in this next expansion, because they have said multiple times they want Hunter to be more varied, and I am not a friend of Hunter. You know that I am not a fan of the class in general. So for me to be defending Hunter, there's got to be something else going on there. I do believe they're going to get more in-game power, and I think that this is going to move Call of the Wild into a more crowded slot to where maybe choices have to be made to keep it from being too top-heavy, so that instead of including 2, you're only including 1 because there are other things in that 9 slot that, as a Hunter, you're going to want to put in.
Yeah, I want to point out 2 things. First off, in chat, Viforce states, I think it gives people another turn to prepare for it. And I think that's true. That, you knew it was coming on 8, now you know it's coming on 9. Earlier today, I was having a conversation with Matt at Arms, and he pointed out to me that, now it's still on curve, because now you can turn 8 Medivh, turn 9 Call of the Wild. Not that you would, but you could.
Why wouldn't you?
I was getting ready to say, what
I mean-
minions come out at 9? I mean, that's a huge.
You
That's
probably get like
you're
your
going to
Sarah.
get a decent minion.
Yeah.
So it opened up that combo and maybe a few others, but I think this is more in preparation for the expansion coming out and its interactions with that.
I've always thought 8 mana for this was too low and too much of a premium because it duplicates the effects of 3 animal companions, which are 3 mana spells. So 9 mana puts it right at what the value of 3 animal companions would be. Now, I actually would be, if this was 10 mana, I would probably still play it because of the synergy it has with itself. Because you get all 3 beasts. You get the taunt, the buff beast, and the charge. It's a guaranteed 5 points of damage. I think 10 mana would still make this playable. I think 10 mana you might be a one of. 8 mana I think is too powerful. I think 9 mana is perfect.
Yeah.
I think 9 mana you're probably still looking at a 1 of once the new expansion comes out. I think right now it's still a 2 of, and I think you get 1 extra turn to get ready for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think right now it's a 2 of right now because if you have the coin, you can 7/8 turn it.
Okay. Let's talk about the other neutral card that's getting nerfed, and that is the Abusive Sergeant. So we all know Abusive Sergeant is a staple card in a lot of your aggro decks, like Zoo, for that burst extra 2 points of damage. So this change really, I don't think, affects anything. It goes from a 1 mana 2/1, gives a minion +2 attack, to a 1 mana 1/1, gives a minion +2 attack. Thoughts?
I still see. Go ahead, Zerosha.
The most similar comparison I can say is this is similar to the Leper Gnome change. You have to think about it. It's a 1 mana 2/1 that also usually guaranteed an additional 2 damage. As Leper Gnome did. Well, now it's a 1 mana 1/1 that guarantees an additional 2 damage, as Leper Gnome did. So the big thing is that huge power turn where on turn 1 you would throw this down without having anything to buff, and it contested a 2-drop. And that's why they changed the Leper Gnome stats to 1/1. So why not change this to 1/1? I think it's for the exact same reason that Leper Gnome was nerfed.
Okay.
And along those same lines, Dark Iron Dwarf, which does the exact same thing, is a 4/4 for 4. This brings it more in line with that. It's a 1/1 for 1, which gives you the battle cry effect. I don't think this is going to affect how often you see it played, because I do think that the +2 that early in the game is just too valuable for trading. And much like the Knife Juggler, I think that its overall ability will still let it see play, despite the fact that it can't trade up like it once was able to.
Okay.
I think you might see a switch to 1-ofs in decks, specifically for another 1-drop that's, say, a 1/3 or a 1/2, to have a little more sustain on the board. But that's the only thing I could see difference. I still think this is going to be playable.
This basically just killed turn 1 Abusive Sergeant.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all this did.
But
yeah, that's all this did, was it killed turn 1 Abusive Sergeant.
Okay, so that brings us to our next card, and it's one of 2 Shaman cards that was changed. The first one is the Rockbiter weapon. Now, the change here is it goes from a 1 mana, give a friendly character +3 attack this turn, to a 2 mana, give a friendly character +3 attack this turn. And kind of their reasoning behind it is Rockbiter is the culprit of a few mass burst combos, in addition to being a reliable early game removal tool. Due to its strength in a variety of circumstances, it's become one of the most widely played Shaman cards in Hearthstone history. Making changes to a basic card that shows up in every deck will help to instigate more variety and help the standard format succeed in the future. We're preserving some of the synergistic potential of Rockbiter weapon by decreasing its value as a removal tool by changing the cost from 1 to 2. Now, a lot of the pros that we've seen talk about this have said that this was a good change because it was either going to have to be Rockbiter weapon get changed or Doomhammer get changed. And we've seen and heard a lot of people speak out about Doomhammer over the last few weeks and months, as it is a 5 mana, 16 damage tool. So, Versika, what are your thoughts on this change?
Just let Zeroshio go first.
All right,
and
Zero.
get your gift ready.
All right, Zero, let's go.
Okay, so I expected a Rockbiter change. I did not expect this change. I was expecting Rockbiter to stay at 1 mana and change to give a friendly minion +3 attack this turn. That would take away the swinginess of allowing your face to do 3 damage to clear, and therefore also preserving your board, as well as the big swingy Doomhammer turn. Being at 2 mana, it only delays the big Doomhammer turn by 1 turn. I think it needed to be changed. I don't think it's going to be the right change. It's still playable to me. But I think Versika probably disagrees, being the Shaman player.
Go ahead, Versika.
All right, so I'm going to start off by talking just about Rockbiter. This change basically just says if you want this for removal, you're going to choose Lightning Bolt now. And people didn't choose Lightning Bolt because Lightning Bolt did the exact same thing, and you gave up the overload for taking 3 to the face. Shaman is a weapon class. It's designed to take a little bit of face damage. This allowed you basically a 1-turn Fiery War Axe. That's what this does early game. Late to mid game, this has virtually 0 impact. So now, to this whole Rockbiter Doomhammer thing, I think it's pathetic. This game has been out for almost 3 years now, right? If you were in beta?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Okay. So, what has changed, and why is this suddenly so powerful? Because if you remember, and I'm going to get back on this later. Not too long ago, Shaman was in the exact same place Priest is in. No one played it, and it was considered one of the weaker classes. So why does that same class that was suddenly so weak and no one wants to play it now have a combination that is suddenly so powerful that it needs to be nerfed, and it's got the same cards? These 2 cards have been in Shaman since the beginning. So what's the deal? And it goes back to the exact same thing that I was talking about with the other. People are unwilling to tech for it. Acidic Swamp Ooze is not flashy. Harrison Jones isn't necessarily flashy. People are unwilling to play weapon removal. They would rather just complain about the weapon cards that are being out there. And to me, those types of attitudes weaken the game. Because you finally have a class that you have pulled out of the dumpster and out of the gutter, and you've got it to where it has 3 or 4 actual playable styles, and you're going to punish people for playing it. That, to me, says that the game is heading in the wrong attitude direction towards things like that. Because you've got a class that no one was playing, you've made it viable, and now you're going to punish because 20% of your population is playing it. And to me, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. You know,
it has gotten tools, but so has every other class.
Right. You
don't.
Go ahead. I was just saying, you don't want everybody playing the same thing all the time. You want there to be options available.
Right. The purpose of Standard was to create a constantly changing environment where classes would ebb and flow in power. You have to give Standard the opportunity to create those changes, and not just in the span of a year. This is meant to be a process, a bell curve that happens over the course of 2 years while an expansion and adventure happens. So there has to be a degree of patience. And Lord knows the shaman players waited forever to get a chance to be even just effective. And now you're going to punish them because they spent 4 months being the most played class out of 9? That to me, that just doesn't make sense. That tells me there's an attitude problem that's with how things are perceived more than how something is actually played. You don't want to deal with Doomhammer, tech in an acidic swamp ooze. You don't want to deal with Tyrian Forgery, you tech in a Hex. Or you tech in a polymorph boar. You hardly ever see those cards anymore. Why? Because they're not flashy. They're general and effective. All right. Move on to the next one.
No. You have to let me rebut.
All right.
If you rebuttal, this section's going to take forever because I won't back down on this. I'll talk your head off on it all night. You might as well just write it in a blog.
I am fine with you having that opinion, but I hate seeing Shaman on the ladder because it takes me 4 or 5 turns to even know what type of Shaman it is. They all pretty much have the same base card sets with only slight variations, but they totally play differently.
Okay, so shouldn't that make you a better Hearthstone player?
Not if I go on a 16-game losing streak playing nothing against nothing but Shaman, because I can't beat it. So I play Shaman and it's a coin flip because the only thing that beats Shaman is Shaman.
Play Shaman. Learn the intricacies of the class.
Yes,
play Shaman.
I know. But if I play Shaman, that's the only way to beat the Shaman, and it's still a coin flip. It's 50-50. And you can't get Legend off 50-50.
Then you're playing for the wrong reasons, sir.
I think Shaman is too dominant on the ladder. You say all the time you want to see different, you want to see variations, and now all there is Shaman, and that's what you want to see.
For 4 months. For 4 months out of almost 3 years.
So
4 months
that's a long
out of
time.
almost 3.
So how long,
how long were you playing Secret Paladin and Aggro Paladin and Face Hunter and Face Warrior? You don't think we got tired of seeing those?
I didn't play any of those except Aggro Paladin.
You absolutely did.
I didn't play Secret Paladin. I played Aggro Paladin.
You played.
He played Aggro Paladin. He did play Aggro.
You played Aggro Paladin. You played Secret Paladin, and you got most of your Legend push with Face Warrior.
No, he got his Legend push with Aggro Paladin. Yeah.
You got way up there with Face Warrior.
So See Me No More. So See Me No More in chat says Shaman is oppressive at the moment. They got too many tools between the expansion, and there are no natural counters to Shaman at the moment.
Yeah, other than Shaman, which is a coin flip.
Just look in your classic and basic cards, and you'll find all the counters you need.
So, all right, let's talk about the last change, which is also a Shaman card. That is Tuskar Totemic. Now, a lot of people considered Tuskar Totemic to be one of those auto-include cards for Shaman. You know, it was in most of the decks that you saw. So the change went from being 3 mana, 3/2, summon any random totem, to being 3 mana, 3/2, summon a random basic totem. So basically, they took away your ability to get Totem Golem, Mana Tide Totem, or help me out. What's the other one? Flame Tongue.
Flame Tongue.
Yeah. So, Zeroshio, thoughts?
I think this is a good change, and not just for balancing Shamans. I think this is a good change for Shaman. This is going to make Totem Shaman a little more viable. I think it keeps it just as strong for Evolved Shaman. This actually boosts up, in my opinion, Spirit Claws, because when you can throw out Tuskar Totemic, and it'll give you one of the basic totems. Now you have a 1 in 3 chance when you use your hero power to get your air totem, to your spell power totem for your Spirit Claws. So I actually think that this won't hurt Shaman. Now it may hurt some of the early game Shaman. You probably won't see it in aggro Shaman, but I think this strengthens. This is just as strong in mid-range Shaman, just as strong in totem Shaman, and will do really well with Spirit Claws.
Okay. Versika.
I think this kills this card, and I'll tell you why. Shaman's hero power is the absolute worst in the game. This is a creature that is just summoning random worst hero power in the game. At the 3 slot, there are much better choices. Now, I will agree that Tuskar Totemic summoning into a Totem Golem is too powerful. I absolutely 100% agree. And I think a better change would have been to change the classification of the Totem Golem from a totem to a golem. But I don't think that getting a Manatide Totem out of the Tuskar Totemic, a 1 in 7 chance, I believe, if you remove Totem Golem from the equation, or a Flame Tongue Totem off of this card is by itself naturally oppressive. If you can't clear a 0/3 Manatide Totem on turn 3, then you're not playing the right kind of removal in your deck. I'm just saying. I think Tuskar Totemic at a 3/2 for a 3 casting cost that summon this, I do think that is a very efficient card, and I think a better value would have been to keep the Flame Tongue and the Manatide in, and perhaps up the casting cost, much like they did with Big Game Hunter, and make it a little more expensive, and fit it into a slot that's a little more crowded, or a slot where you had to make the choice between dealing with Overload or playing this card. Now, Ancestral Knowledge on turn 2 would force you to deal with Overload and try to play this card on 3. So it is hard to curve out that early with it. But really, that's the only card that does that. And you combine this card with Farsight, and it makes it a 0 casting cost when you draw it off the top. It's just, it is powerful. Something did need to be done with it. I don't know that this is the right way to do it, because, like I said, the basic totems, a 1 in 4 basic totem is basically paying 3 to put a 3/2 on the board and get your hero power out. And aside from playing Thing from Below, a totem that early isn't going to do anything, and you're not going to want to play this card mid-game. It decreased value after turn 5. So I think this, for the most part, in 90% of the Shaman decks, we'll probably just nerf it out of existence. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing. This card can cause some pretty big problems. I just don't know if this was necessarily the change that they wanted to implement, if you wanted it to stay relevant in the early to mid game. And I feel like that's where Shaman was shored up with the expansion and the last 2 adventures, and that's where they needed the most help. And I think this weakens them in that zone. I think this also specifically targets the aggro and the early tempo decks, the more aggressive tempo decks. And I think that if you're wanting to target those, that this would be a good way to do it, would just be to nerf this card out. The aggro Shaman that I do have doesn't even run this card. So I don't know that it's going to have the desired effect that they want. I think this is sort of applying the kindergarten rule to this card, and it's just punishing everybody for the misbehavings of 1 or 2 decks. Okay. But I don't know, with it getting ready to go, with it getting ready to rotate out, I don't know that a nerf of this magnitude was necessary to balance the card.
Right. All right, well, that does it for all of the nerfs that we are getting with patch 6.1.3. So look for those very soon, actually, because they did announce those would be live before the last call tournament.
Which is in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I do, real quick, and I know that we're rushed for time. I do want to say something. Just a general plea. Think of where Priest is right now, and think about how just the simple addition of the cards from Karazhan has helped revitalize the class. How long did Priest stay in the dumpster? How long did Shaman stay in the dumpster? we don't want to put classes into the dumpster where they don't really get played. We want there to be vitality, and we want there to be reasons to play every class. There's no salt here. I'm just saying.
I don't think the priest has been revived, but
it's on the way. It's getting help, and I think it will get more help in this next expansion. You want parity between the classes. And, I mean, realistically, you want to have the class to be able to play in the aggro range, the mid-range, control, and maybe even the tempo. It'd be nice if they had 3 of the 4.
Yeah.
Well, see, here's the thing. Imagine somebody in a wheelchair trying to go up steps. What Blizzard has done with the cards from One Night in Karazhan for Priests is gave them crutches. Well, they may be paralyzed from the waist below. They can't use crutches.
Well, what they may have done is laid the foundation for the ramp. You just can't see it yet.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe.
That's true. All right.
We'll see.
So let's move on to our next topic, and that is the European Summer Championships was this past weekend. So we got to see our top 8 European players, who were George C., Sarasi, Akiliu, Viper, Diz Demon, Grey J, Dr. Hippie, and Like a Boss. So of those, George C., Akiliu, Diz Demon, and Dr. Hippie advanced to the semifinals. And then we got to see I guess it was a return for both George C. and Dr. Hippie, who have both made finals before only to lose. So we were guaranteed one of them this time would advance. And after what was really, a really dominant start by Dr. Hippie, we started to see George C. make a bit of a comeback. So it was a great tournament. Versika, I know you watched it because you and I discussed it. I know Zeroshio watched it. What were your thoughts, Versika, on the event last weekend?
I thought it was really good. I liked that there was slight variety in what was pretty much just a straight-up meta match. In the end, I think George C's stubbornness to continue to play Freeze Mage against Dr. Hippie's lineup, I think, put it in some bad situations. I think Dr. Hippie played off George C's confidence with Freeze Mage. And I think Dr. Hippie just flat out pokered George C. out of those finals. I had George C. to win. A lot of people had Dr. Hippie. And I think they're both great players. I think Dr. Hippie showed you why he's still a force to be reckoned with. It'll be good to see him compete again at Blizzard. And I just want to see, he seems to have a pretty good mind for strategy. I want to see how he pairs off against some of the other regions.
Okay. Zeroshio?
Same here. I really liked some of there wasn't a lot of variations in the decks, but the decks that were played, they were played well and played strong. I also had George C. to win. I secretly was rooting for Dr. Hippie, but I did not think he'd actually get into the finals. I thought he'd find some roadblocks on the way. But he played really strong, really level-headed. I think he is a thinking man's Hearthstone player. He's very analytical and very skilled at that extra brain work that's needed to make those choices in a game. And I'm really excited to see him at BlizzCon.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing him compete and hopefully win the last call. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But congratulations to Dr.
You're saying
Hippie.
George C., right?
Yeah, George C. Yeah, I'm excited to see him.
I want to see George C. at BlizzCon.
Last call.
I want to see George C. at BlizzCon specifically because I want the battle of the kids. Amnesiac and George C. will get them both a glass of milk and just have them go at it.
So one thing I learned watching the event last weekend is how much George C. actually despises nothing more than being compared to Amnesiac.
Oh, yeah, I know.
So we will have to wait and see what happens. But, yeah, congratulations to Dr. Hippie. It was a good event, and looking forward to seeing him compete at BlizzCon. So there was one other event this weekend, and this tournament was a who's who of Hearthstone players from the community, but that wasn't what was important about this event. And the event I'm talking about is the ONOG Start Democracy Invitational. So this event was organized by Video Gamers Vote and ONOG, One Nation of Gamers. It was set to promote equal rights for esports athletes across different disciplines. So they had 32 players attend, and like I said, it was a virtual who's who of Hearthstone stars and some up and coming names. It was played over a couple of days, and over 3 days actually. And when it was all said and done, when it all shook out, we saw Strafkrow emerge victorious for really the first time in a while. It's been a while since I guess Strafkrow's taken a tournament in the pro scene. Zero, did you watch this event?
I watched some pieces of it. I couldn't watch it all. But I have always followed One Nation of Gamers. I follow them on Facebook. They do some great outreach programs to make sure that gamers get their fair shake in the community, whether it's in state legislation. They pushed for federal legislation votes to consider professional esports athletes as professional athletes, so they get equal compensation and pay and legal rights as other athletes do through multiple sports in the United States. One Nation of Gamers is a great organization. If you don't follow them, you should.
Versika?
Yeah, I've watched most of it. We caught some of it while we were at the Fireside this past weekend, but I went back and watched some of it. I think this really highlights how differently you play Hearthstone when it's last hero standing versus the Conquest format, and how Conquest format has actually made tournaments easier in a lot of ways. I thought that management of decks when they were played and looking for specific matchups and choosing the bans carefully, and I really like the fact that they chose their own bans.
Yes, that was something unique.
I thought that was really cool, but it showed that in order to win this tournament, you had to be thinking in a next level strategy, and I think it really separated the Hearthstone players that are pro players that you can tell put in the time and the work and have that ability to think 2 and 3 turns ahead and maybe even 2 and 3 games ahead. And I think it really highlighted the fact that those guys are still out there and that it's really competing in the Conquest format that has leveled that playing field. And it's nice to see another tournament that is offering them the chance to go back to the way that we were playing Hearthstone to begin with, and how well they moved through that. And if you look, it was a who's who of pro Hearthstone players, and you can watch that progression up the way. And the names at the top were the names that we were used to seeing at the top before Conquest became the widely accepted format.
It's very true. Very true. So, all right. Well, you got something you want to add, Zero?
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of piggyback off Versika here. I was a big fan of Conquest when it first came out, and I think the main reason was because when I was entering tournaments at the time, it really gave me a better chance to win. Of course, that was before I actually got a little better at playing, and I still wasn't great at tournaments. Now that I look back on that, I piggyback that sentiment that I really like Last Hero Standing, and I think it actually broadens the scope of your decision making so that you have to be a better player and make better decisions to win your game, especially knowing that if you win this match, your opponent gets to pick what they match up against you with, knowing what deck you're going to play. So then you have to go into that playing defensively to keep that that hero, on top. So I really hope that Blizzard sees this and maybe transitions to a different style of Last Hero Standing. I like the self bans. I think that gave another level of decision making, because you don't want to put a certain deck matched up against your opponent, because it is Last Hero Standing. So I'm excited to see if this gets more traction. I'm really excited to see how the tournament scene changes because of these tournaments that ONOG's putting on.
Yep. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about our deck this week. This week we are talking about Resurrection Priest, and this is a deck that became really popular right after Karazhan came out, and mainly because of Priest of the Feast. So if you're not familiar with Priest of the Feast, it is a 4-mana 3/6 minion that says whenever you cast a spell, heal your hero for 3 health. So it really gives you some lasting abilities. I'm going to run down the deck list real quick, and we'll talk about it a little bit, and then we'll switch over and we'll play a few games with it. So the deck consists of 2 Circle of Healing, 1 Flash Heal, 2 Power Word Shield, 2 Resurrect, 2 Shadow Word Pain, 2 Wild Pyromancer, 2 Injured Blademaster, 2 Shadow Word Death, 1 Thought Steal, 2 Akanai Soul Priest, 1 Barnes, 2 Priest of the Feast, 2 Shifting Shade, 2 Holy Nova, 2 Onyx Bishop, 1 Entomb, 1 Sylvanas, and 1 N'Zoth. Now, really what you're looking for with the deck is you want to get out your Injured Blademasters or your Shifting Shades as fast as possible so that they can either start banging on the hero, or they can die. It's really good to use your Injured Blademasters if you can to trade for value to knock minions down, because then you can just bring them back at full health with Resurrect or Onyx Bishop. So those are really great ways to get value out of your cards. Of course, Shifting Shade is a Death Rattle minion. Sylvanas is a Death Rattle minion. So they all come back with N'Zoth. So you can get really lots of just churning of returning minions with this deck. And it gives you the ability to play with a lot of your opponent's cards, because you can have a Shifting Shade die 3 or 4 times in one game very, very easily. One of the things that you could do with this deck, and I've seen it done 2 different ways. This version is running Akanai Soul Priest. The other option is to drop those out and run, what's it called?
Embrace the Shadow.
Embrace the Shadows. So you don't have that Akanai sitting on the board the whole time. You can just do it when you need to remove something or to combo with your Circle of Healing. That's a completely other option that you could do with this deck.
Most of the time you want to have the Akanai out just one turn to deal with the board state. The worst thing that can happen is either get an Akanai when you're not prepared with the Barnes, or get one back with your Onyx Bishop or Resurrect. That can really wreck you. I actually was playing on the ladder today and got matched up with Mad at Arms, one of our regular listeners and patrons. So, and his key to beating me was keeping the Akanai on the board, and I had no way of clearing it myself. Eventually, had to use my hero power to kill it, because I was working on getting rid of my Akanai. I threw down Barnes, and he pulls a 1/1 Akanai. What am I going to do? So I took out the Akanais and put in Embrace the Shadow, and my win rate has actually changed. Now, that just could be because of my style of play. I definitely implore you to try both ways.
Okay. Versika, you had a chance to play it?
I did. Actually, I made a couple of different changes.
Of course you did, Mad Scientist.
I did, too, have some problems with Barnes pulling back Akanai Soul Priest and Wild Pyros when I didn't want them. I also had a problem with Rez bringing back Wild Pyros when I didn't want them. So I actually removed one of the Wild Pyros. I removed the Thought Steal. I removed Barnes. And I removed one of the Holy Novas. I put in 2 Mass Dispels. I put in another Entomb, and then I put in a the 1/2 that gives you a Death Rattle minion. Can't think of its name right now.
Museum Curator.
Yeah.
Museum Curator. So that way, if
Okay.
I needed a minion that I was running minion light, then I could pull it out. This enabled me to use the Arcanine Soul Priest to trade as well as use the Circle Clear combo. It just made it easier to kill them off when I needed to heal.
Okay.
There was one other change I was contemplating, and that was taking out the Wild Pyromancers because I was seeing a similar issue, and putting in injured Clawdeers. Because similar to the injured Blade Master, it's a 1/1. It's a 1 mana 2/4 that does 3 damage to itself, so it's a 2/1. But when you bring it back with Resurrect or Onyx Bishop, and it's early game, it's a 2/4. And it does about the same amount of clearing as a Wild Pyromancer would.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to playing this deck for you guys tonight. I've been playing it for a little while. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So if you guys are joining us on Twitch or YouTube, please stay tuned for the live play portion of our show. If you are listening via our audio podcast, we'd like to thank you for joining us, and remind you that you can follow us on Twitter at HeroPower_cast, and you can find all of our past episodes on YouTube at youtube.com/ECMMOgamers, or on our website at HeroPowerHS.com. And if you enjoy the show, you can help to support and improve it by joining our Patreon, just as our new good friend Ben did at patreon.com/HeroPower. And as always, guys, we'll see you again next week.
And don't forget to use your hero power.
All right, so Versika, while I'm getting set up on this end, why don't you go ahead and finish your story about Viforce?
All right, so if you guessed the momentum, then you guessed correctly. When I was looking at Viforce's computers, this machine just kind of stuck out to me. If I'm wanting to play Overwatch, and I'm not, I'm not a professional gamer. Getting into professional Overwatch is not what I'm going to be doing. But I want a great experience playing the game, and I want to have a good time, and I want the game to look and sound nice. The momentum. It used to feature a 3.5 gigahertz 6-core processor. It now features a 3.3 gigahertz 8-core processor. You used to have a GTX 950 graphics card. It now has a GTX 960 graphics card. So at $800, it is a beast of a machine as far as being able to run games like Overwatch and even Heroes of the Storm. I know Heroes of the Storm has kind of taken a back seat to Legion and Overwatch, but I do have a feeling that at BlizzCon we're going to see some Heroes of the Storm updates and some new ideas coming out for it. So if you're looking at playing those games, Legion, Overwatch, Heroes of the Storm, and playing them on a high resolution, then the Momentum is a great computer to start you out in that game of higher end computing. At $800 and 6 months financing, you could get one and you have it paid off in no time and be enjoying Overwatch and maybe even streaming some of those tournaments while you're playing Overwatch. So it's definitely something that should be on your radar.
Now, quick question, Versika. With the increase in the processor and the video card and the increase in the hardware, how much did the price go up?
The price didn't go up at all, and that's what's great. Is that this is a 20% better CPU and a 13% better GPU, and they're giving it to you at virtually the same cost that they had the original Momentum at $800. So I think there was a price shift there when the components shifted. But anyways, $800 is going to give you as solid a machine as you can find. And it's just, compare the stats. I urge you to go online and go to your box stores and compare those stats against any other machine in that price range. I think you're going to be surprised by what you find.
You're muted.
I am, aren't I?
Yep.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to interrupt Rasika with all my typing to log into my Battle.net account. So, all right, let's get into this. I'm excited to play this deck and see how it does. Oh, that's what I forgot to change.
What did you forget to change?
So our opening hand is Power Word Shield, Shadow Word Pain, Shadow Word Pain.
Well, I think you're definitely going to throw back a Shadow Word Pain.
We are against Shaman. I mean, at least one for a Totem Golem. I'd at least keep one.
All right.
Yeah, you're going to throw back one. You're going to keep one.
Okay.
So the question is, you don't really have anything to cast Power Word Shield on, so I don't recommend keeping it.
So
and you probably won't till turn 3.
Yeah, so we'll throw it back.
Or 4 with no coin.
Oh, we got Holy Nova and Sylvanas.
I would have been tempted to keep both powered pains, but it would have felt bad.
All right, so turn 1, we're just going to pass. Turn 1, he's going to pass.
Do anything.
We draw into our second Holy Nova. So
okay, now the turn 2 priest play is to heal your opponent's face.
That is the turn 2 priest play. So that is what we will do. And then we will pass.
That is standard operating procedure for a priest.
Alright, so our opponent is going to coin into 3 mana to play that Tuskar Totemic we talked about. And he's already getting basic totems. See? This guy got the memo. Alright, so turn 3, are we Shadow Word painting our Tuskar Totemic?
I'd say with 2 Holy Novas in our hand, we don't worry about it.
And just hold off.
We'll be able to heal that back. I would go ahead and Thought Steal, because it's hard to find a good time to Thought Steal.
Exactly. That's actually why I took it out of the deck, was because it was too clunky most of the time.
It's good as a one-of, but I've gotten away from 2. Ooh, wow.
So we get Totem Golem and Sir Finley off of the Thought Steal.
Sir Finley's going to help us much, but the Totem Golem might. Because to get that resurrected every turn actually might be pretty good.
So Mad at Arms asks, what happens if Priest or when Priest gets a 2-drop? Will we have to stop healing face?
No, you still heal face.
That's all right. People will just ask for it to be nerfed.
Okay, so turn 4, we're at 19 health already.
Yep.
I'm going to say Totem Golem heal.
I'd say Totem Golem. I'd Shadow Word Pain the Flame Tongue.
The Flame Tongue?
Because that's going to get rid of 4 damage.
If we Totem Golem, we can't Holy Nova next turn.
It's true.
Yeah. And it's going to be harder to get it killed so we can res it.
Yeah, so we want to Shadow Word Pain and heal our face. Is that what we're going to do?
Sure, that works fine.
All right.
Yeah, because it would have been an awkward turn 5 with 4 mana. Hopefully he plays into Holy Nova.
Yeah, this has been a pretty awkward game with none of our early stuff, so...
Yeah.
And see, this is the argument of why Excavate Evil might be better than Holy Nova. I still like Holy Nova for the heal value.
Okay. So we're going to Holy Nova here?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that sets us up to Holy Nova next turn, too.
Yeah.
If he sees we Holy Nova, he may play into it with another Tuskar Totemic. That's not really playing into it, but it's a lot of pressure.
So, what do you think about Wild Pyro, Power Word Shield?
Just Wild Pyro,
Totem.
Wild Pyro, and Power Word Shield first, and see what you get.
Yeah, that's a good point too. We might get another spell or
Yeah. So Totem Golem or Heal Face?
We're at 14.
If you heal, you negate what the Argent Horse Rider can do next turn if he doesn't run it into the Wild Pyro.
Okay.
Yeah.
It'll force him to find another form of pressure.
Right.
Where does this aggressive play that he's going to have some burst damage?
So he's going to Horse Rider again.
Okay. I'd like to see those earlier.
Yeah, I think the play here is probably Holy Nova heal.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to see him have less cards in his hand by now, but Circle of Healing will be nice if he empties his hand.
There's the Abusive Sergeant.
Getting them taunt totem. There comes a burst.
Yep.
Have to heal this turn.
So
Probably Shifting Shade and Totem Golem.
okay.
Yeah, that gives us the most coverage on the board. I like that. I think we're dead to so many things, though.
Well, yeah, he does have a lot of outs.
Yeah. Well, if he's hero powering.
Lightning Storm. Be nice if we get a Lightning Storm. Nope.
Nope. That would have been nice. I should have called it because it usually happens when I say it.
All right. Well, I believe that's
I think we're dead in the
gonna
water.
be game.
Yeah, I'd go ahead and concede it and move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not much you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, we can kill a minion by putting out Akanai, and then that makes it so we can't heal anymore.
Right.
'Cause he
Honestly,
won't kill it.
I really wish that, a lot like Magic, if you got to go second, I think you should have to choose between whether you want the coin or whether you want the extra card.
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
And not getting both.
See me no more, says Oppressive Shaman.
Don't get him started
I mean,
again, CB. Don't get him
no.
started.
I think See Me
Anything's
just
a-
wants to see the GIF again.
He just wants to see the GIF again. That's all it is.
Anything's oppressive when you don't have an answer until turn 5.
True.
All right, so here we've got Barnes, Thought Steal, Flash Heal, and Shadow Word Pain.
And the coin,
Yep.
which makes Barnes a tempting keep.
Yeah, because we could get him out on turn 3.
But if we keep Barnes, we might as well ditch Thought Steal.
Yeah.
So,
We'll just draw Thought Steal again sometime in the first 2 turns.
Yeah.
But
I'd say
I
we
would
keep
go
Shadow
ahead.
Word Pain and Barnes.
so throw away
Yeah.
Thought Steal and Flash Heal.
Yeah,
All right.
I agree.
So our opponent ditched 2 cards as well. We draw into Wild Pyro and Priest of the Feast.
Actually, not bad.
And there's our Injured Blade Master.
That's probably going to be a turn 2,
Coin.
depending what he plays.
He plays Alex Strauss's champion with Dragon in hand.
I like Shadow Word painting that. Let's see what we draw, of course.
Yeah.
Shadow Word Pain.
Shadow Word Pain.
Because that covers us for the Fierce Monkey now.
Right.
Yeah.
Which usually the Injured Blade Master will cover us for the Fierce Monkey, but... And this way we don't have to coin out Barnes. We can play on Curve. Ooh. Well, maybe we won't play on Curve.
Alright, so he's got a 2/4 Frothing Berserker. Do we Blade Master here? Or, I mean, we could Blade Master Circle of Healing to make him a 4/7.
No, that Circle of Healing
Yeah.
is going to need to be kept for later. I think
almost
just go
like
ahead and throw out.
Painting.
I was going to say, throw out the Blade Master so we can kill him off.
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't do a lot of whirlwind shenanigans with weapons.
I don't think he can with just
4 mana.
4 mana.
Probably right, yeah.
Yeah, we know Blade Master procs Frothing. That's okay.
Execute.
So now do we Shadow Word Pain the Frothing to remove it?
See, told you we get thought still within the first 4 turns. Yeah, I would say, since we can't use the coin into Barnes, let's go ahead and Shadow Word Pain and then coin in that thought still.
I like that. I like that line a lot.
Okay. Say that again.
Shadow Word Pain the Frothing.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Coin
in. Yeah, coin into thought still.
Okay. I was just sitting here thinking that if we Wild Pyroed, coined Shadow Word, well, we'd have to Wild Pyro Shadow Word Pain, and then we could just throw out the coin and clear the board.
But it would kill
leave us. It would leave us with nothing as well.
Yeah. We can deal with the fairy dragon. That's not.
That Fierce Monkey will deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure
I
will.
like Blood to Ichor too.
Yeah, Blood to Ichor's a good card.
Won't help with the fairy dragon, but it'll help later.
Blackwing Corruptor.
An Alkanai now wouldn't be terrible.
What about Onyx Bishop to get our injured Blade Master back?
That's exactly what we want to do,
Yep.
I think. Yeah, I like that. And if he trades the Corruptor into the Onyx Bishop, that's Wall Power Mancer fodder.
So he's going to slam the Bishop
Interesting.
to draw a card. Into Fiery Winnax. And then he will axe off the Bishop.
Hmm.
And
I'm not
then
sure
go
if I like
face.
that line. Not sure what he was thinking with that.
Okay. So, we have a 4/7.
We're low.
We are
We're
low.
10.
I think this has to be a monkey turn.
Monkey, run the 4/7 into the 5/4 and heal.
I think so.
No. It doesn't have to be a monkey turn.
I mean, we can
We could
priest.
Well, I mean, we could priest coin monkey.
We don't have the coin anymore.
Oh, that's right.
Circle of
Never
Healing.
mind. We used it. Yeah.
Priest. We could priest, run in the 4/7 into the 5/4, circle of healing, and that'll give us a little bit of healing,
Yeah.
as well as having 2 bodies on the board.
Yeah. I like that line.
Okay.
And then we can use our hero power to heal our face.
That gets us 5 health back.
Uh-huh. I mean, we could heal the Blade Master, but that would only heal for 1. So,
Man at Arms said this guy had a 1 mana execute. He's hacking. All right. So, what do you think about Fierce Monkey Shifting Shade?
like Barnes, see what we get, and then possibly Fierce Monkey.
Okay.
I was actually thinking Wild Pyro,
Ooh, yeah, I didn't even
Blood
think
to
about that.
Ichor, run the Blade Master in to clear the taunt.
Okay.
Yeah. That's actually a lot better. I wasn't doing my math right. I was thinking we could only do 5 to it, but I forgot about Wild Pyro. And then
I still say we heal ourselves.
Okay.
But we can
we can slow play it. He only has 3 cards.
Yeah.
We can slow play it. If we commit too much to the board, he might. I don't know if this build runs brawl, but we already are low on the board.
Yeah.
Low health, that is. So Raging Worgen does a lot of damage to us.
Yeah, I don't know that he really has much to be able to deal.
Matt at Arms says no brawl.
Yeah.
No brawl.
That would be a Ragnaros.
Yeah.
No
yeah,
brawl,
would.
But he has Rag.
Sure does.
And we just drew Shadow Word.
Yes. I didn't ask for it, but I'll take it. Top deck wreck. Fierce Monkey heal.
Say Barnes.
Barnes?
If we don't play Barnes now, we may as well not have him.
You're right. There's pretty good targets in there for Barnes, though. It's not bad. We haven't have we got one Onyx Bishop. We haven't gotten the other one or either of our Resurrects, right?
Correct. What do you guys think about if he doesn't play anything else? Soul Priest, Hero Power, run the 4/2 in to clear.
I like healing the 4/2, running Barnes and the 4, what would be a 4/4 into to clear.
Okay.
Puts them all at 1 health, but it keeps stuff on our board.
Right. Then maybe Shifting Shade.
Well, we could actually do Shifting Shade and Fierce Monkey.
And the heal, yeah.
Yep.
The only thing that might change that is if he throws anything else down, and if we get a Holy Nova.
It's a Power Word
that
shield.
Changes.
Okay.
I would go ahead and Power Word shield the Blade Master.
Yeah.
See what we get.
Bishop.
That's not terrible. We get Bishop and Fierce Monkey after we do our trade. What do you think of that, Rosika?
I really want to get rid of that Drake.
The Azure Drake?
What's the spell damage going to do for him?
I don't really see how we can do it this turn. Spell damage with a Whirlwind is quite awful. Or a Revenge, for that matter.
Revenge would be the only thing, but he's not low enough for Revenge to even be that much damage. It would only be 2.
It would be 2, but it would be enough to clear our board if we trade into the...
Right.
To clear.
Well, if we put out Fierce Monkey and Onyx Bishop, we'll have more board pressure.
That's true.
Let's clear. Go ahead and clear that taunt. Fierce Monkey, and I say Shifting Shade.
Either way.
Okay.
Run a face
for 1.
1/1. And see, if he has to run in the Drake and use Ravaging Ghoul, he's killing his own Drake.
Charge.
Okay.
Berserker.
Doesn't have enough for Ravaging Ghoul.
Yeah, he does. He's got
Nope.
3 mana left.
Is the Ravaging Ghoul 4?
Nope, Ravaging Ghoul's
3.
3.
Was it 3?
Yep.
He's doing math to see if he's got lethal. Because I'll have to run something into the Fierce Monkey.
Yeah, he'll probably run the 4/3 into the 3/4 to clear.
Well, not lethal, but
Setting up for lethal next turn.
setting up for lethal, yeah. Probably going to have to clear that.
I would imagine he'll clear the Shade.
Nope.
Wow. That's an odd line. Well, this is an easy play.
So, run the 1-1 into the 4-1.
Yeah, I'd run the shade in first to see what we get. Okay, either way.
Yeah.
Guess it really doesn't matter. I don't know what we could get that would have.
We got another Fierce Monkey. What do you think about Bishop Fierce Monkey?
Heal Barnes, maybe? Because we're safe at 17.
Yeah, I would heal Barnes.
Yeah. Good. That gives us good board pressure. Four health is well out of the range of what he can do with 2.
Yeah.
Other than a brawl, 3 health is pretty good.
Well, any big minion, we're just going to entomb.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Now we can just play the board game.
So.
I think we push damage.
You think
Do we just go face?
I think we clear the board with the Onyx Bishops, throw down the Auchenai, and hero power him to the face, and run the Monkey and Barnes in.
Well, if we're going to do that, I would rather throw down the Auchenai and hero power to kill the 2/2 and get the extra 1 point of damage from one of the bishops.
Agree.
Okay.
I mean, it's the same line, but 1 extra damage.
1 extra point of damage to face, yeah.
Yeah. We go ahead and put down the injured Blade Master?
No.
No, we'll hold it.
Well, hold on. Where are we at with lethal? Will we have lethal without injured? 3
9, 12,
We'll be just off.
16, no, 3, 6,
'Cause of
9,
armor.
12. 15,
No, with armor. No, we'll
16,
be right at
17.
lethal.
Yeah, we'll have lethal.
Yeah.
Unless he can get more than 2 this
More
turn.
than 2 armor.
He'd have
yeah.
to shield block.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have to shield block. I was just thinking if injured Blade Master was gonna get us lethal. But with 1 card drawn, it'd have to be a brawl.
I actually run Deathwing in my Dragon Warrior is the only reason why
I guess
say
it could
that.
be Deathwing, but
Because
if it's Deathwing, that's good for us. We just entomb it.
Right.
Right, but it still clears the board, and if we leave Injured Blade Master behind, we have something to put back on the board after we entomb.
Yep.
It's a whole lot harder for him to come back.
So at this point, he is ripped off his headphones, thrown them on his bed, and he's stomping around his room, or going to the bathroom, or making some hot pockets.
He's probably playing on his phone, and he probably just exited the game.
That's possible too.
He's like, I can't believe I'm losing to a priest. I should just uninstall.
Yeah.
I did see a guy rage today on the Nerf post saying that can't believe they didn't do anything with priest because he's getting wrecked on the ladder by them. He didn't even hero power.
Nope.
He just walked away.
Yeah.
QQ Alt F4.
All right, that makes us 1-1.
All right, we got time for one more.
I think we can do one more real quick.
Okay.
5-4 still in chat.
Yes, I see him in there.
All right, we got a paladin this time, guys. And our opening hand is Priest of the Feast, Wild Pyromancer, Circle of Healing.
Feast of the Priest.
That thing.
For early pressure, Wild Pyromancer Circle of Healing is actually pretty good to clear a lot of 1 health minions.
Just
And
in
if you
case
have-
we run into Divine Shield Priest.
Exactly. I like that. We could probably toss the Priest of the Feast for now.
Yeah, I agree.
And hope we get something like a Power Word Shield or a Shadow Word Pain. That works too.
Okay. Drawing to Flash Heal, so we're going to pass on turn 1.
We're probably going to do a lot of healing our face while he builds up a board because we want to get maximum value out of our board clears.
Looking good for Divine Shield Priest.
Yeah.
I would heal the Argent Squire. It's the way to go. Greetings. Well met.
So, we had a pretty good, funny conversation earlier this week about Anduin building a wall and forcing Orgrimmar to pay for it.
Has no place here, sir. No place.
I find that's hilarious since they're on two totally different continents.
Exactly. So we could
Heal the face.
Yep.
okay.
We don't
need
want to
to-
do. We don't really want to do anything until a Steward of Darkshire comes
Yep.
out, or until one of the 2-1s.
And what we
Comes
can
out.
do is we can wild Pyromancer into a Circle of Healing into a Shadow of Pain, or vice versa, depending what he has on the board.
Okay.
And we'll want that to get out of stealth. We'll probably take a little bit of damage early, letting him overextend.
Competitive spirit.
Yeah.
I think it's probably a pretty good Circle of Healing turn, since we have Flash Heal in the bank.
I mean, we could Flash Heal our face. Or the Wild Pyromancer, even.
Yeah, I was thinking circle, and then that'll do one to everything, and then we flash heal. And that'll kill off the other one, but it'll still leave the Silent Knot with a 1 health.
Yeah, but he's just going to use it to clear the Wild Pyromancer. You're just wasting the Flash Heal.
That's true.
Yeah, but we'll get an extra minion off the board.
we would kill the extra minion instead of him just running the 1/1 in to kill the Wild Pyro.
I mean, we could just hero power.
Well, yeah, we could just hero power. That's what we'll do.
I mean,
That way he has to do that.
yeah. He'll have to run the 2/2 into it. Well, if it's competitive spirit, then he'll run the Argent Squire.
Yeah, he'll run the Argent Squire in, but it'll still die.
Or the Argent Horse Rider.
Matt at Arms says Secret Paladin.
Yeah.
Secret Paladin.
I really don't like playing against this deck.
Yeah, I've never liked Secret Paladin. I've tried playing it, and it just hasn't worked for me.
Alright, so... Shadow Word Pain, the Silent Knot, or the Horse Rider? And then Thought Steal?
Yeah, that's a lot for just that.
I mean, we could clear the board,
Yeah.
but it would take us 3 cards.
I'm okay, though, because we do want to keep our health total high.
Yeah. So how are we going to do it?
Let's Wild Pyro, Shadow Word, the 3/3, Flash Heal our face.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I mean, we could Flash Heal the Wild Pyromancer to keep it alive, but what's that do?
It's still, we'll just end up at 3/1. We may as well keep our health alive.
Yeah. I mean, we can bring it back with Onyx Bishop. We're guaranteed to get a Wild Pyromancer.
Yep.
Now, one thing to know is if you do get Resurrect and you cast Resurrect and get a Wild Pyromancer, he will do his 1 point of damage.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good bank. Onyx Bishop.
I would Thought Steal Heal.
Okay.
We got Barnes and Argent Commander.
That's actually really good. Because that Argent Commander, that Argent Commander may come in handy. Would have loved a Resurrect there, but
Okay. So, we've got a 4/2 charge that would kill that 4/3.
Why not? We didn't have it before. We might
Yeah.
as well just go ahead and do it. That way we can bring him back.
That's true.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you have a chance to bring it back. It'd be 1
Right.
to 3. But still, I'll take those odds. If he goes Fate, if he goes Fate, yeah, this is competitive spirit. We need to draw Resurrect. That would be great.
Well,
Yes.
there you go. So,
Okay.
what do you think about running this guy in Holy Nova Resurrect?
No, you won't Resurrect, then Holy Nova.
Right, because you want the Wild Pyro. There's a chance you get the Argent Commander if you do
Okay.
it the other way.
So
Okay.
don't kill off the Argent Commander yet. Because you might get him.
Okay, so we want to resurrect.
If
No.
if
You want to Holy Nova, then
No,
Resurrect.
whoa,
Right.
why no, you want to Resurrect first so you get the Wild Pyromancer.
You have a chance to get the Wild Pyro, then you want
Then
to
when you Holy
set it
Nova,
off
it'll
with
clear
Holy
his
Nova.
board.
I got you. Okay.
It'll clear his whole board.
Yep. You're right.
Now the question is, before we Holy Nova, do we want to run the Argent the 4/1 to his face so we possibly proc Noble Sacrifice,
Yep.
and then we Holy Nova? See,
Good
that's
call.
what. Yep. I know Paladin.
Yep.
And it heals our Wild Pyromancer. So,
Yep.
yes,
Good call.
it's a complicated line,
Yeah.
but I saw it.
Yeah, the deck can get complicated at times. So he's
Oh,
using a
what a-
Consecrate on just that.
What a
Wow.
waste.
So I guess now you want to throw out Onyx Bishop and Barnes on turn 9?
I
Let's Barnes
like
first.
But yeah, let's Barnes first, see what we actually get. It might be worth Power Word shielding it.
Shifting Shade?
I say we keep him at 1/1.
Yeah, you want him to
Yeah.
die.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Onyx Bishop.
Yeah, I think we're a good health total that we don't have to worry about healing right now. That's not bad.
No, we can actually throw the Power Word Shield out on him next turn.
If
can.
if
Yeah.
he's got a second Consecrate in his hand, he will Consecrate here.
Yes, he will.
Yeah, but what's that do for him?
Well, he can't afford not to.
Yeah.
Another Silent Knight and an Avenging Wrath.
Avenging Wrath. This isn't Shakaden. Couldn't be Shakaden. Nobody plays Shakaden anymore.
All right.
Go ahead and run her 1/1 in.
Yeah.
Oh,
One that
yeah.
you can
When you
attack.
can
Yeah.
actually attack, you know.
Ooh.
Ooh. It's actually not. We don't have any divine shields, but it's a weapon.
We might if we Onyx Bishop. We could get one.
We could actually. We could Onyx Bishop, see what we get. Then we could even do that and heal our face if we wanted.
Yep. I like
So,
that one.
Onyx first.
Yep.
Oh!
Yes. All right. That is amazing. Oh yeah, go to face.
Yeah.
Face it up. He's got 2 cards. I can't imagine what he would have.
I would just go ahead and use that blade too.
Yeah, go to face. You
Straight to
can't
face.
attack that.
I know. I was debating on whether or not to save the charge.
Okay.
Because we have lethal. We set up for lethal by
Yep.
doing that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well played. You can concede.
Yep.
Yes. I didn't see Mysterious Challenger. It almost looked like a form of like hybrid Secret Paladin Shakaden.
It did, and that was definitely an interesting deck. I'll have to check into that. That looked like fun. All right, so that brings us to last thoughts this week, guys. Zeroshio, what do you got?
Hearthstone esports are going to start, bursting at the scene. And with these nerfs happening, who knows what the meta is going to be like during last call and especially BlizzCon. So keep your ears open and your eyes shut. Wait, is that? Pay attention. That's all I got.
All right, Rasika, what do you got?
Not much. Just remember that it's the last few days of the season. So if you aren't to 20 yet, make sure you get to 20 because this season's card back is pretty awesome.
Sweet.
So make sure that you have your account up to 20, even if you're not normally a ladderer. Besides that, enjoy this meta because like Zeroshio said, I believe next month's meta is going to feature a pretty significant shift.
Okay. I actually want to throw a shout out. One of our local players has returned to the pro scene. And if you want to watch him, he streams daily, usually in the early mid-afternoons. It's his name is I Am the Legion. So you can find him on twitch.tv/I_am_the_legion. And he's a great player. We've actually had him on the show. He was on episode 38 playing Dragon Priest with us. And so go give him a follow. Watch him play. You'll learn a lot. I promise.
He was also in the Vicious Syndicate Tuesday Night Hype tournament last night and was knocked out by Frozen.
If you're going to get knocked out, might as well be one of the top 20 legend players right now.
He did really well. He did really well going up to... I think he won a few rounds before that.
He's actually finished pretty well in a couple of tournaments he's played in the last couple of days. So it definitely worth a while to give him a follow and watch him play. So,
and if you like Taylor Swift, you'll love watching his stream. That's all he plays is Taylor Swift.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for us this week. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please email us at heropowerpodcast@gmail.com. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button below on YouTube if you've not done so already. Give us a follow on Twitch to be alerted when we go live. For more details on our Patreon, you can check that out at patreon.com/heropower. And as always, guys, good gaming.
Bye, guys.